Hey, what's up, guys? It's Matt Mrozek. I just want to do a quick video about Reapercon, which I went to the past few days here in Texas, in Dallas. Reapercon is I guess you could call it a convention for mini painters and gamers, tabletop gamers. So like Dungeons and Dragons and all those other games that I don't know anything about, and I didn't even know that it was here, or what Reapercon was, till about a month ago when Rob Ossner from Resin Maniacs shot me a private message and said, "Hey, I'm going to be in town for Reapercon. Are you going?" I'm like, "What's Reapercon?" And he explained to me that it's a painting contest and a convention for miniature painters and gamers. So I was like, "Yeah, sure. Well, I'll go. I'll hang out for a few days." So I met up with Norb on Friday afternoon, and we checked out the show. Ran into Ken Badger and George Stevenson from Blackheart Model. Rusty Nail came into town and hung out for a few days. He lives, 5 or 6 hours away. So Friday we just kind of spent the day looking at the vendors, which there weren't too many, probably about 24 vendors, selling anything from terrains to miniatures to modeling supplies. One guy had a really cool booth full of rubber molds that you can make terrain out of, which was really interesting. Bricks, cobblestone, sand, desert kind of landscape. There's a vendor there that has their own game using Legos, which is kind of cool. So you can build your terrain out of Legos and use the minifigs. And then they have all the literature that goes with the game in order to how to play the game, which I thought was really interesting. One of the vendors had a really cool carrying case that is expandable, that can carry, I'll show you one of these shortly. You can carry your paints, your minis. You can use them as a display case, which I thought was really clever. And of course, a lot of booths selling miniatures, which are incredibly small and incredibly detailed. And I don't know how these guys paint these things. They had a paint and take, and I got like a cloak painted in like an hour. So these guys have a lot of talent, and I was really impressed by some of the work they did. I went ahead and brought some entries and put them in the contest, and their size limit was 12 inches by 12 inches by 12 inches. So I took some figures and I took 2 Gundams, and I actually won a couple of awards, I was surprised. I was like, hey, cool. These guys appreciate some of my work. So I got a gold medal for the Orange Sazabi, Shar's Crutch, and I got a silver for my Filmies Girls Stella, which I call Hitchhiker Hottie. And it's interesting how they do the judging, which I actually prefer this way more. It's an open judging system, meaning that there can be several golds, several silvers, and several bronzes in the same category. But what they do is you actually enter a body of work. So like I entered the open category with the Sazabi and my blue Sinanju. Sorry, my cat's coming up here. And I entered those in open because those had been modified with some resin parts and metal parts. And so the open category is anything that's been modified or changed outside of the original kit. And then I entered all my figures into the painting category, where they basically painting is like 70% of your score. So that's where I entered Stella, Hitchhiker Hottie. I entered Daphne in there, both my 11 busts, Supersonico, my Christmas ornaments, and my other Volks kit, the samurai and the tree. So what they do is they look at your body of work, and they pick what they think is the best one out of that body. And then that's basically what they judge you on. So even though I had 11 figures in that category, I only qualified for 1 award if I got anything. So I can only get like 1 gold or 1 silver or 1 bronze. So I actually like that, because what it does is it shows the judges the scope of your work and what you can do and what you enjoy to do. So it's very similar to how they judge the World Model Expo in Chicago this past year. You enter a body of work, they choose what they feel is your best piece, and they judge you based on that. I had a couple people come up to me after the show and commented on the Gundam. They were really happy to see those there, and so it was cool. I mean, I had things that were this big, and then we had like dragons that were this big, and then I had my figures which were a little bit bigger. So it was a nice display. There's a couple military pieces in there, a lot of kind of like what they call ordnance in the gaming world entries, but really impressive work. So it was cool to see, and I'll probably go back again next year. I won't make a 3-day event out of it. I went Friday all day and Saturday all day. And seeing as I'm not into tabletop gaming, I can make it a 1-day event and have plenty of fun. So yeah, it was a really neat event. I'll put a link down to Reaper, which is the company that holds this convention. I have to say probably I think 300 or 400 people showed up. They had a big hall. Half of the hall was reserved for artists, so you could actually bring all your paints and minis. You could grab a table and sit down and paint with your friends. They had a whole section sectioned off for gaming. So if you wanted to go grab a table game, you didn't have to bring your own. You could just go grab one and play games. And then they had the vendor area, and they had a whole other area for classes. They had a ton of classes, like probably 30 different classes, anything from beginners to wet blending to basing to highlighting to you name it. Anything that has to do with minis, painting and building, they had a class for. So lots of classes Thursday, Friday, Saturday, and I'm not sure if they have classes on Sunday. Today is Sunday. I'm not going today because I've already seen everything and I'm not into the gaming. So, but I know Norb's there. So yeah, it's a really neat event, and I'm going to show you a couple things that I got. I have to give a big shout out to Ken Badger. He hooked me up with a few things, and I'll show you a couple little busts I got from George from Blackheart Models, and I'll show you one kit that I purchased. There's one booth there that was selling other stuff other than just mini related stuff. It was kind of like a hobby shop stuff. So give me a second, I'll show you that stuff. All right, first up is stuff I got from Ken Badger. If none of you have ever spoken to or met Ken Badger, do yourself a favor and send him a message on Facebook, or if you see him at one of the shows, go talk to him. Probably one of the nicest guys I've met. Super, just down, good heart, very friendly, loves to talk about the hobby, and no matter what you're doing, he just loves chatting. So had a good time talking to him and George and kind of catching up because I only see him at Wonderfest. So the first thing we have is a set of his ghost tints, and these are his transparent colors, which I have yet to try. So he's like, here, take some, give him a shot. Like, all right, I'll be happy to do that. So let's open them up here. I haven't even opened them. It's a nice set. It's a set of 16 colors, or sorry, 12 colors. And so these are Badger's Minotaur transparent colors. And I'm assuming these are ready to spray out of the bottle. I don't know. But we have like Ghost Tint Midnight Blue, so really nice dark blue. We have Oil Discharge. I like that name. So we're going to do oil effects. We have Fresh Blood. I need some blood because I ran out of all the garage kits. Blood. Plasma Fluid, so if you want a plasma. Magenta. We got blue. Purple. Brown. Orange. Golden yellow. Yellow. And green. So yeah, nice set of transparents. And also Stynel Res. I am a Stynel Res convert. I was Badger had this. Ken Badger had this at let's see, a few years ago. I first saw it at Eagle Quest when he came to town to do Eagle Quest, and he had some there. And so I picked up at Wonderfest, I picked up a few small bottles and I gave it a shot. And I tell you what, if you haven't tried Stynel Res, do yourself a favor and pick up. If you don't want to spend a lot of money, just get a small bottle like this and give it a shot. He's winding the color range, which is very helpful depending on what you're doing. When he first released it, it was just gray, black, and white. Now he's doing gloss black, so you can do an undercoat under your metallics. He even has a metallic Stynel Res, which is silver. I have a little bit of that, and it actually sprays very nicely. This is like a medium, well, he calls it neutral primer, but it's more of like I call it more of like a tan. So it'd be like a good base coat for maybe like an African American figure. I've been using his skin tone Stynel Res base coat for my figures, and it's been working really well. He suggested trying using the dull pink as a base coat for figures, so this may work really well on female figures. I got some brown, and then I'm doing a quarter scale Hulk, and so I got a big bottle of green. So if you've never used Stynel Res and your first time using it, you'll put in your airbrush, you're like, oh man, it's like really thick, and that's the first thing I thought. And then you go to spray it, and it looks really orange peely, and it's kind of, you first like oh my gosh, what did I do to my model? But let it sit for 10 minutes. You come back, and it is baby smooth, and this is what it looks like when you're done. So when I first sprayed this, it was a little orange peely, but it's got a great leveling property. And this is the gray style res right over the resin. So yeah, and it adheres extremely well. I've never had any lifting from it. I haven't used it on plastics yet because I haven't been building plastic models. I've only been working with resin, but I know guys that swear by it for plastics as well. You can thin it a little bit, and Ken recommends use some distilled water. You don't want to thin it too much because then you'll be fighting a surface tension issue with the water-based, paints like you do with true acrylics. When you spray them, you kind of are fighting the surface tension and aren't wanting to adhere well. So don't over thin it, but if you feel like you want to thin it a little bit, put a couple drops of distilled water in there and you're good to go. But it sprays right out of the bottle, no problem. So put those to the side. And then I got another chrome airbrush. I don't know, a couple months ago, I posted a photo of all my airbrushes that I had been using, and they were Iwata and Grex. And Ken mentioned that, I don't see your Extreme 105 Patriot airbrush there. And to be honest, I'm not a big fan of that airbrush. To me, it doesn't feel right in my hand. It's a personal preference. I know guys that love it, and I'm just not a fan. But I was talking to him, like, man, I really like your chrome airbrush, and I already have 2 of them. He's like, well, here, take another one. So I have another one, which is awesome. So he's got 2 versions. There are 2 versions available. You have this one, which is just the chrome airbrush. I'll call it the single pack, because it's the airbrush with just one needle and tip. And it comes with a 0.2, I believe, is the standard size that's in here. So let me see if I can see that in the description sheet somewhere. I'm pretty sure it's a 0.2. Let's see. Somewhere it may say it on here, but I'm almost convinced it's a 0.2 that comes with it. But then you can buy another needle for like a 0.35 or a 0.3. And the great thing about Badger airbrush is that the needle and tip set's like $15. The same thing in an Iwata is like $40 or $50. So, and I also have to mention customer service with Badger in general. I had the first chrome I ever bought. I went to take it apart and clean it, and I couldn't get it back together correctly, and I wasn't able to spray paint anymore. I was just getting air blown back up in my cup, so I had something wrong. So I sent it to the Badger, and a couple weeks later it came back, and I didn't have to pay anything. So great customer service. They basically took it apart, cleaned it, and put it back together, and it worked like brand new, and I didn't get charged anything. So, but I love this airbrush. It's got a nice weight to it. That's one thing I don't like about the 105. It seems very light, and I tend to like a heavier. I like the weightiness of this, and I love this little black grip here, this comfort grip. I know a lot of guys don't like that. You can take this off simply by unscrewing the valve down here, and it slips right off, and you can put that back on, and you don't need that. I like that. It gives a nice place for your finger to rest right here, so you're not like crimping down on it too hard. So when I hold the airbrush like this, I get a real bad cramp in my hand right here. This kind of helps you, forces you to kind of relax your hand in this area. It's got a nice smooth action. I love the dial on the back. I like the fact that it's numbered. So if I'm doing something very repetitive, like if I'm doing highlighting on especially on a Gundam where I have to highlight 30 pieces, I can do all my base coating, and then I can know that when I'm doing my highlighting, I can set this to just whatever number I'm using, and I know that my needles aren't going to come back any further. Now, a lot of airbrushes have that feature where you can set the needle depth or how far it pulls back, but this has a little number and a gauge on it, so that's helpful to me when I'm doing a lot of highlighting or shading on a Gundam. I'm doing smaller parts, so I'm going to do everything like at a 2, so my needle comes back very little. If I'm doing bigger parts, I can like crank that like to a 4, or I can go all the way around one time. Now the needle's going to come back more, and I can get more paint out, so that's a nice feature. Metal cap, and it seems like the metal caps fit better now. The first few I have, the metal caps tend to want to fall out a lot, and they do offer a plastic cap that goes in there, but seeing as at the time I was spraying mostly Gundams, I would fill my paint cup up almost all the way, and when you put that rubber top in there, you just lose some volume, and the paint, if you fill it too much, the paint wants to squirt out everywhere. So I like the metal cap personally better, but big shout out to Ken Badger for that. So I'll get a lot of nice use out of that. The Style Rose primer, like I said, if you haven't tried it, grab yourself some. It's really, really good stuff. I can't recommend it high enough. I'll give the tints a try. I'm excited to give those a shot. Like I said, I'm not sure if those are ready to spray. And then George Stevenson from Blackheart Models. Again, if you haven't had a chance to talk to George or haven't met him or seen what they do, go to I'll put links to all the websites down here in the description. Check out Blackheart Models. They're really well known for their full-scale busts and wall hangers. Something I haven't gotten into yet, because to be honest, I'm not really a fan of class decor, and that's kind of what they specialize in. But he's got this cool series of miniature busts, similar to what like Troy McDivitt is doing with his comic book series. But these are more like, again, I'm not familiar with these characters. I just thought they look cool. More like classic horror characters. And I don't remember the names of this one. This is the Unnameable, sculpted by Gary Onichuk. I'm not how to pronounce that, but I'll see if I can find him on Facebook. So this is the first one I picked up, the Unnameable, and these are really inexpensive, for like 20 bucks. And George warned me to be careful of her ears because they do break, and already had one break off right there in the bag, but the little pieces in there, so hopefully I'll be able to put it back on. But very nicely done. Great sculpt. Casting is, Blackheart Models casting is excellent. If you've never seen any of their pieces in the raw, really good. Comes like a nice little base. These are called Micromaniacs, the name of the series. And we've got their nice Blackheart logo on there. So you can use this base if you want, or you can make your own, but very nicely done. Just a simple mold line that comes up the back of the base, and it stops right here in the hair. So probably a one-piece mold would be my guess, and they just slid up and pulled it out. So this is the Unnameable. And then this one right here. He's got a whole slew of these. I'm not sure if they're on his website yet. Hopefully they are, because they're really cool. And this guy is Innsmouth Gilman. George was telling me what this is from, and I forgot. So, sorry, George. But again, really cool. I got it because it looks kind of like General Akbar from Star Wars. Kind of got that same kind of look to it. But again, nice little base. Plugs right in. And this was sculpted by Greg again. Great detail. Nice casting. Cool little piece. So that's what I picked up there. And then I got like a bag full of other goodies for, when I was there. It's a bunch of sample pieces and stuff. I'm not going to go through all that. It's a bunch of miniatures and stuff like that. Stuff I'll probably never paint. Maybe I'll paint them one day. And then, oh yeah, the medals I got. So here's the silver. And their awards are really nice. This is the silver. Their silver award. It's a nice hefty weight to it. Really nice. It's a nice metal. I mean, high quality. And then that was for my painting category one, Stella Hitchhiker Hottie. And then this is their gold for that I got for the Shar's Crush. So again, really nice. And they had a bunch of special awards where they actually were giving out trophies, and a lot of those were sponsored awards. A lot of them were like best Reaper product, best different categories. I don't remember them all. So yeah, so that's Reapercon. If you're into miniature painting, if you want to go talk to a bunch of people about miniature painting, I'm not a miniature painter, but I went anyway. I interested in some things. I got a lot of great feedback from people who looked at it. Check it out. If you're in town, if you're in the Dallas area, or if it's not that far of a drive, I'd recommend coming in and checking it out. It's a 4-day event. It's a Thursday, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, which is a very long stretch for any kind of convention like that. Typically, they're 3 days, like Friday, Saturday, Sunday, or even just Friday and Saturday. But yeah, that's Reapercon. Had a great time hanging out with Norb and Rusty and talking to Ken and George. So I probably won't see those guys again until Wonderfest. So, 8 months away or so. But as always, this is Matt Mrozek. Thanks for watching, and we'll catch you guys next time. Bye.